like to welcome you to the July 21st, 2022 Board of Public Works and Safety. Roll call, please.
Mr. Markgraf. Mr. Long.
Here.
Mr. Perez.
Here.
Is there any conflict of interest sentences? Excuse me, conflict of interest statements?
No, sir.
Approval of minutes of the meeting of July 14th, 2022. I'm going to recommend that we defer those minutes.
I concur.
Bid opening, Hammond Fire Station number 2 project. I see that there's three bids. The first one is from Gary Up Construction, Gary, Indiana. Have the bid proposal. The Form 96. Non-collusion affidavit. And the bid bond. The bid from Gary Up Construction is $9,137,500. Again, that bid is $9,137,500. The second bid is from Powers and Sons in Gary, Indiana. We have the bid bond. Bid proposal. Form 96. And the non-collusion affidavit. The bid from, make sure I have it again. The bid from Powers and Sons out of Gary, Indiana is $9,125,000. Reading that again is $9,125,000. The last bid is from Hassey Construction, Calumet City, Illinois. We have the bid proposal. The Form 96. The non-collusion affidavit, and the bid bond. The bid proposal for Hassey Construction is $8,779,000. Again, that's $8,779,000.
I'd ask that you refer this to the consultant architect for the city Axis Architects for review and tabulation. Thank you.
Okay, I will make a recommendation to forward the 3 bids to Axis for their review and tabulation.
I concur.
Okay, moving on. Correspondence. A. Correspondence received from Mr. Dean Button, Capital Improvement Board, requesting $30,000 of CIB funding be allocated for the various pavement marking projects and agreement for professional services with First Group Engineering submitted for approval.
Good morning to the board.
Mr. Button.
Thank you. We are having a number of pavement marking matters coming to engineering, particularly the north approach to Hammond and Sibley, the west approach to Hammond and Sibley, and then a number of issues that have recently come up on Goslin, at Cameron, Hammond at Hewen. So we're looking at sort of just to set aside a budgetary amount for First Group to help us through that. Also, State Line 165th. So they're helping with us with a number of those issues. Capital Improvements Board met on Monday. The City Controller, the Mayor, and the Capital Improvements Board all approved the funding. So we'd ask that you approve the agreement and the funding for this project. Thank you.
Okay, I will make note that they were signed by the Controller, the Mayor, and the CIB Board, so I will make a recommendation to approve Mr. Button's request.
I concur.
Thank you.
Letter B, correspondence received from Mr. Dean Button, Capital Improvement Board, requesting $57,058 of CIB funding be allocated for the Hammond Avenue Project 1. Additionally, sewer work and the change order number 3 with Reith Riley Construction submitted for approval.
We had additional sewer work, particularly on Hammond Avenue along the west right-of-way line that we needed because we couldn't connect sewer services to a large combination sewer. It makes it very problematic. We are using this as an effort to leverage some other issues that the city has relative to the development agreement that's forthcoming. And so this would be a city cost, not a sanitary district cost. I just wanted to be clear on that. The Capital Improvements Board met on Monday. The City Controller and the Mayor had approved the funding allocation, as did the CIB on Monday. So I'd ask that you approve the funding allocation and the change order to Reith Riley for the amount stated.
Okay, I will make I do see that, again, the Controller, Mayor, and CIB signed off on this, so I'll make a recommendation to approve Mr. Button's request.
I concur.
Thank you.
Thank you. Letter C, correspondence received from Dean Button recommending the approval for the Robertsdale Lead Remediation Phase 2 landfill project be awarded to Republic Services in the budgeted amount of $114,500 and the corresponding agreement.
Several weeks ago, the board opened quotes for landfill disposal. We received the paperwork from the consultant, from the landfill through the consultant. This portion of the project, well, the Robertsdale lead remediation is being funded through the American Rescue Plan Act funds, which there are sufficient funds available for that. So the council had approved that already, so that requires a funding allocation through that source. The City Controller and the Mayor both approved that funding allocation, and we reviewed the agreement. It complies. We're following the same process we did in Phase 1. Both landfills were solicited. The same landfill we had, Republic, under Phase 1 is still the low bidder on Phase 2. So we're asking that we move forward on a budgeted amount for disposal. We'll true up at the end, but for the consultant assumed a quantity, and so the 114.5 is a placeholder, and we'll true up at the end, and I'd ask for your approval of this agreement.
Okay, then I will make a recommendation to approve Mr. Button's request.
I concur.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Letter D, correspondence received from VS Engineering requesting the bid for 2022 citywide lighting project be awarded to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, Hawk Enterprises Incorporated, in the amount of $1,407,241.80 submitted for approval.
So several weeks ago, this project bid was opened by this board. We have concurrence from the council districts that they would like to move forward with their projects, and so you will, this is a notice of award to get the contract started. We will get all the funding allocations prepared from all the councilmen that are involved in the project, which is the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, and the 6th. We'll get that all pulled together in time for the execution of the agreement. And so we would ask for your approval to award this agreement to Hawk Enterprises of Crown Point, Indiana.
Okay, I will make a recommendation to award this agreement to Hawk Enterprises.
I concur.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. Letter E, correspondence received from Chief of Police William Short recommending that Officer Philip Mason be appointed as probationary member of the department and to serve his one-year probationary period effective July 19th, 2022, and requesting approval for the following officers: Elaine Salazar, Sophie Rodriguez, and Matthew Siegfried be promoted to the ranks of sergeant with promotions and pay adjustments to be made effective July 19th, 2022. And I will make a recommendation to approve Chief Short's request.
I concur.
Letter F, correspondence received from Fire Chief Jeffrey Smith submitting the approval of the letter of retirement from Captain Timothy Smith, who has served the citizens of Hammond for 28 years, 6 months, and 4 days, and to be placed on the pension rolls effective July 8th, 2022. First of all, I'd like to thank Timothy Smith for his services and make a recommendation to accept Chief Smith's request.
I concur.
Letter G, correspondence received from Dean Button advising his approval for NIPSCO to work on SOL that will limit parking along the right-of-way intermittently for the placement of newer power poles starting July 18th, 2022 for approximately 4 to 5 weeks, with the understanding that they must clear the right-of-way for the weekend of August 6th and 7th, 2022 for WHAM.
This is an action that we talked about at the last Board of Public Works and Safety meeting. They wanted to start work on Monday, so we worked out an arrangement to have them move forward on Monday with just blocking the parking lanes along Soul Avenue. And they do have, I did notice they did have flagging operations occurring as needed. So I had granted them approval to start on Monday. I'm asking that you ratify that decision at this meeting.
Okay. I will make a recommendation to ratify Mr. Button's request from NIPSCO.
I concur.
Thanks, Dean.
Thank you.
Letter H, correspondence received from Milestone requesting to close the George Lake Trail west of Indianapolis Boulevard to the east side of New York Avenue on Monday, July 25th, 2022 until July 27th, 2022, weather dependent.
The Indiana Department of Transportation did a bridge inspection of the bridge that goes over Indianapolis Boulevard, just near New York Avenue, right? They found that there was an abrupt settlement that was occurring on the east approach to that bridge. So I went to inspect it, talk to a contractor. We need to cut the bridge joint out on the approach and put asphalt in the middles to make that 1.5 inch deflection go away, right? And this all needs to happen before August 6th, which is the date for WHAM. While I was out there, I noticed that there was a hole developing on the east approach to the New York Avenue portion of the bridge, and he's going to uncover that, and we're going to figure out what's going on there. It's right along the north side of the bridge approach, so we'll dig that out as well. That work will start Monday, so it'll have to close the bridge completely so the pedestrians won't be able to use that segment. All in order to try to get this done before first weekend in August. I'd ask for your approval.
Do we think it's going to be completed and dried and everything in 2 days, or?
Yeah, I mean, so what they're doing is they're cutting out the concrete and they're replacing it with asphalt.
Gotcha, okay.
Because you may notice that a lot of bridge approaches, that 1 foot segment right in front of the bridge is generally asphalt. When this was constructed, the approach was all concrete poured right up to the bridge. So that approach is sort of settled. We expected settlement to occur over time. That bridge was constructed about 10 years ago. So When we cut that joint out, we'll put asphalt in. It'll be ready by the end of that day.
Okay.
Weather permitting, obviously. If it's raining, they'll have trouble completing the work, and it may carry over into another day. But I think we're looking good for next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Okay, then I will make a recommendation to approve Milestone's request.
I concur.
Thank you.
Thank you. Letter I, correspondence received from Milestone requesting to close Chicago Street to all traffic. The restriction would start at Sheffield Avenue and end at Johnson Avenue, starting July 11th, 2022, and last till July 31st, 2022. Second restriction would last from August 1st to August 6th, 2022. This restriction would close all traffic throughout Chicago Street construction limits. Traffic will be shut down at Marble Street on Sheffield Avenue, the project limits to Chicago Street and Baltimore Avenue intersection.
So this was an action that had been previously approved by the board, but they needed an additional week. There's a condition, a settlement occurring at Cameron, on Chicago Street at Cameron. It was the old water main that had been abandoned, but prior to its complete shutdown, water continued to run. It undermined the completed work, and so they've cut that out. And they need time to dig down and make sure that we've rectified anything going on below the surface. They needed extra time for that. Similar to the previous request, we're all trying to get this work completed for WHAM. We have a guarantee from the contractor that Johnson and Holman both will be open for the WHAM event on that weekend of April 6th, 7th.
Okay. Then I will make a recommendation to approve Milestone's request.
I concur.
Thank you.
Thank you. Letter J, correspondence received from Lisa Poteet and Open Door Church and Ministries advising that they are holding their annual community outreach beginning Saturday, August 6th, 2022 and August 7th, 2022, additionally requesting 12 traffic barricades to be delivered August 5th, 2022 to use in their parking lots. They have a flyer. Let's see. I don't see a problem with it. Can you deliver the barricades? You're good with the barricades?
Okay. Just to let you know, that is WHAM weekend, so I don't know about if Public Works have enough barricades for, you might want to talk to Felix in that there for us.
Okay, so I'm going to make a recommendation to approve the request. However, we will have to see if the 12 traffic barricades will be available because it's WHAM weekend. So we'll let her know that. Thank you. So go ahead, Johnny.
I concur.
Thank you. Okay. Letter K, correspondence received from New Zion Temple Church requesting permission to hold a parade with attached route at 11 a.m. on August 27, 2022, additionally requesting that fire trucks and police cars have presence in the parade. We done that before, Donnie?
No, that's a new one.
Yeah.
But I just request that if you do it, just for it, we can take care of it.
Okay, would you take care of the notification of the fire department, police department too? Okay. Then I'm going to make a recommendation to approve New Zion Temple Church request.
I concur.
Letter L, correspondence received from Derek Durr requesting to close Tapper Street from Eaton Street to Drackert Street for their annual block party on August 13th, 2022, from 3 p.m. until midnight, submitted for approval. Mr. Durr supplied us with some signatures from neighbors. He doesn't seem to request any kind of barricades or anything. I do see that he wants to go to midnight, and we've been ending at 11 p.m. So I will make a recommendation to approve Mr. Durr's request. However, it must end at 11 p.m. instead of midnight.
I concur.
Okay, letter M. Correspondence received from Brandon Zingoni, production manager, ITV America, advising they will be filming on July 22nd, 2022, mostly contained on private property, with permission from landowners, and inquiring if they need have permission to film on the streets in Hammond.
Do we have a location?
Chicago area filming a documentary on Hammond. It does not give a location.
I mean, generally, I would say that if they're on private property, obviously, we don't really regulate that. However, if they're on city streets and are going to disrupt traffic, we'd like to know that in advance, especially with all the construction going on. I don't know, Dean, if you have anything else to add, but I just would, yeah, I would just send that. Do they have a date on it?
Friday, July 22nd. And all it says...
Is anybody here on that request? Anybody on Zoom on that request? Okay.
All it says, Kevin, is we will be heading down to Hammond on Friday, 7/22, to film some additional footage.
If I'm not mistaken, this may be the documentary folks that have been doing the documentary on downtown and the
I believe
transformation
so.
in downtown. So they've been around. I would just ask Linda to give them a call, and if they are going to have to be in the street at all, that they advise Linda of that, and then she advised PD.
Okay.
And engineering, so they'll know, and we can make additional arrangements. But otherwise, I have no objection to it.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to make a recommendation then to approve Brandon's request. However, Linda's going to make contact with him to find out exactly what area he's going to be in, and if he's going to be in the actual streets that the police department's notified.
I concur.
Letter N, correspondence received requesting a rental registration hearing. Let's see here. A couple weeks maybe or something. I'm going to make a recommendation to set that for August 11th, 2022.
I concur.
Okay. Okay, let's go to matters from board members. Do you have anything, Johnny?
No, sir.
Okay. New business, letter A, right-of-way permits submitted for approval from engineering department. Morning, Mark, how are you?
Oh, wonderful. Well, back to the train. So they are requesting to close actually Kenwood Street and Highland Street, but we actually request them to close after the WHAM start, so it's August 8th. So those will be closed approximately 2.5 weeks. They're doing a curb work, actually doing a prep for the tracks, and they will pave over it. So that will be like 2.5 weeks, like I said. Then hopefully it's not going to be closed until they put the tracks back in.
Gotcha.
Next year or so when they lay everything. So I would recommend approval of this.
Okay. Thanks, Mark.
Thank
I
you.
will make a recommendation to approve the right-of-way permits.
I concur.
Letter B, acknowledgement from Advisory Board of Zoning Appeals notice to owners of affected properties located at 5923 Calumet Avenue, 5911 through 15 Calumet Avenue, 6005 Calumet Avenue, 6007 Calumet Avenue, 6009 through 11 Calumet Avenue, 6013 through 60 Calumet Avenue, 5816 Erie Avenue, and 5751 Erie Avenue.
Yes, it's my understanding that this has to do with a variance at Central High School for some signage. And I know there was some concern I received from Councilman Tyler just to have that the residents understood that's what it was for. They were concerned it had some other reason. So if it's what I think it is, which is the petition regarding some signage at Central High, then I think that's all it is.
Okay. Yeah, it's got all the addresses listed too, so.
Yep.
Okay. I would make a recommendation to approve the advisory board's request.
I concur.
Letter C, disposal authorization submitted for approval. All good. Okay, I'll make a recommendation to approve the disposal authorizations.
I concur.
Letter D, garage sale permits submitted for approval. I went through those as he was going through the disposal authorizations, and I'll make a recommendation to approve the garage sale permits.
I concur.
Number 10, old business. Letter A, status, intersection at Cleveland and Tapper.
I regret that I wasn't here last week at the time this issue came forward.
So do I.
So I apologize. Had family in town. I took a look at this after reviewing the broadcast for this meeting last week. The 1100 block of Cleveland is a one-way street eastbound, and there is a stop sign at Tapper. So I don't believe that that is the residents' concern. I would like to notify the board that we do have an ongoing traffic evaluation at Burns Hicks Elementary School, formerly Maywood School, to evaluate that area. The intersection at Howard and Cleveland was not included in that evaluation. I'm only making an assumption that that is the actual location that is being requested, which would be the 1000 block of Cleveland. So I'll certainly take a look at that. I'm happy to take a look at that. But the 1100 block is compliant with traffic control.
Okay.
So I believe the initial request came from Councilman Tyler, if I'm not mistaken. Is that accurate? Or was it a resident?
It was
Alvin
Okay.
Cheeks, Mr. Cheeks.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll just make sure we note that on our continued list, that it was basically, we're not going to do anything at that intersection, correct? I mean, outside of what we
correct.
just
We're not
did.
doing anything at Cleveland and Tapper because it's a three-way intersection and it is stop control.
Okay, so we'll make sure we note that on our spreadsheet. Okay.
Should we clarify with Mr. Cheeks the exact location, just in case he's talking about the other? I know that this is part of the study, the school study, but I want to make sure we're clear on which intersection he's talking about.
Our school study was confined around the school, so that Howard and Cleveland is one block further east than
Gotcha.
what we were looking at particularly. What I'm saying is I can certainly take a look at that.
Okay.
We have some equipment, as Mr. Gordish had mentioned last week, we have some new equipment that we can use to sort of further evaluate the condition that's happening there, but that's going to take next week to pull the information down, or put the equipment out, pull the information down, and review. So I won't have a real recommendation for you for a couple weeks at least.
So should we set this for status?
Welcome to do that.
Go with that August 11th. That gives
We're
you
sort of making a lot of assumptions here.
I got you.
So,
Right.
but I'm willing to.
Okay, so we don't need a status.
Okay.
You're going to give us the findings at the
Yeah.
end anyway, so, okay. So then no action at this time. Mr. Button will give us his findings for the school study at some point.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're not going to set one for status, yeah. Okay, letter B, status, 820 Bauer Street, 1244 Indiana Street, and 19 Webb Street.
Yes, these three properties are under rehab agreements, and they just weren't set for status, so I'd like to do that now. If we could set it for September 29th,
Okay,
all three.
September 29th. Okay, I will make a recommendation to set those 3 properties over for status to September 29th, 2022.
I concur.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Number 11, rental registration hearings. We'll go one at a time. 637 Roosevelt Drive. They're all together? Gotcha. Okay.
Limit the walking. Okay, 637 Roosevelt Drive, Ms. Lamelli. They are the owner listed since November 7th of 2006. This is a single-family home. We're here for the rental registration for 2021 and 2022. It was registered in 2020. I'll also note that the property file was sent to Smith-Ursich's office for collections on at the beginning of July, and then I believe this is the third date for the rental registration hearing. There was 2 prior that were rescheduled for ended up today's date.
You know why they were rescheduled?
I believe the owner had prior obligations that interfered with their appearance.
Okay. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Yes, I'm fairly new to this.
Could you give us your name, please?
Yes, Maria Lomelli.
Thank you.
And I was not aware that I had to do this annually and that I was not sent any kind of a reminder until I received the collection letter.
Okay.
So I wanted to see what I could do.
Okay, just a reminder that every year, between January 1st and April 15th, you have to register, okay?
Okay.
And the city does send out cards, but they are not obligated to do that. That's done. So I wouldn't count on that every year to remind you.
Okay.
So I guess what I'm saying is make a note somewhere, jot
will.
that down. So I will make a, go ahead, sorry.
Well, with the property case having already been sent to Smith-Ursic, there is an open collections case, so I'm not sure if the board would need to make a recommendation.
Okay.
She can contact Kevin Smith's office, and they can work out an arrangement to take care of the 2 years that are owed. So I believe there were 2 dates previously assigned to this, and when they weren't fulfilled, the case had already been sent over and put together with Smith-Ursic. So it's, Kevin, if the case is with you, does the board, would they refer the?
Yeah, I have no action here.
So ma'am, they will provide you with a phone number before
Okay.
you leave today. You need to make contact with Smith-Ursic and work out an arrangement with them.
Okay.
For the
All right,
payment.
because I
Okay.
tried to do that before arranging this, and I was never able to get a hold of
They'll make sure you have the right information before you leave today.
it. Okay.
Okay? Thank you. So no action on Roosevelt Drive. 6304 Van Buren.
Howie Realty. So we have this property. There was an inspection performed on it. It was vacant, previously constructed as a 3-unit. We're based on some preliminary research. There were some issues with permits that were present to support that. So I'd say at most, once we have the completed file, we'll be able to determine, the number of units that would be permitted at this site. I know that the owner does own, multiple properties throughout the city. They are typically, diligent in registering them on time. I believe they took over ownership of this one in 2001. It was registered as a 2-unit last in 2001, and then so we're here for 2022 under Howie Realty. They took over September 3rd of 2021.
Okay, but you're saying 2 units right now is what we're looking at?
Correct. Based on the preliminary research, it would, a 2-unit would be all that would be supported based on the construction of the home. It's an attached garage. The attached garage was converted at some point into 2 separate units. However, we would contend that the permit history doesn't support that, but that would be reserved for a different action, a hearing action in front of the board. And once we're working with ABLE, with their district inspector, to complete that research and documentation to bring in front of the Board of Public Works.
Okay, so she doesn't need to explain that this morning?
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay. Good morning, ma'am.
Hi, good morning.
If you could give us your name, please?
My name is Zhenzhu, last name is Xie.
Okay. Can you tell us what happened for 2022? Why you didn't, why you missed the payment?
Yeah, inspector did the inspection and talked to me because when I bought, it said the 3 unit. He said we need to convert it to 2 unit. So we did convert it to 2 unit. And so 2021, it was not ready for rent. So then we also did some window and new window work and the floor. So that's first I found the tenant on June. So the lease started June 1st. So this is the first time for me to register as a rental property for this property.
They did have licensed contractors that pulled permits to perform the work. There were some outstanding inspections the contractor needs to call for, but typically when there's work being done and they find a tenant, as long as they come in within 30 days of that lease being signed, then we'll accept the rental registration. I believe this was after the cutoff date, which is why appeal hearing was scheduled.
Okay. So you're satisfied, I know you have some work to do, but you're satisfied with just the 2 units today?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Okay, then I'm going to make a recommendation to waive the late fees for both units for 2022. And ma'am, at the end of today's meeting, if you'd like to stay, you can register at the end of today's meeting.
Okay, thank you very much.
I concur.
Thank you.
Give me 1 second here. Okay, moving on to 2618 173rd Street and 6247 Monroe Street.
All right. Mr. Oliveras? Yes, sir. All right, we have Mr. Oliveras listed for 2618 173rd Street. He's the only owner of record. The only previous Board of Works action was back in 2010 when the property was first registered. They have registered on time every year since. This is a single-family home, and we are here only on 2022. And then similarly for Monroe 6247, Mr. Oliveras has been the property owner since 2009. Again, the only previous Board of Works action was back in 2010, and it's been registered on time since. This is a single-family home as well for 2022.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Could you give us your name, please?
Yeah, Esteban Olivares.
Okay.
My hair is a little bit.
Okay.
See, I have it. I was in Mexico last year in December, and I got an accident. I almost drowned myself. That's the cause that I can't hear no more. I was deaf for a couple months. I had to come to the United States right away, so I see the specialists. I got the papers over here for 2 specialists that they see me, and it was terrible because I can't hear nothing, so I got depressed. I forgot everything. As a matter of fact, I just reported this 4 weeks ago that I remember. I came right away. And then I got, that was when I'm supposed to pay the permit, and then I got sick, the COVID.
Okay.
You know, it was nightmare. I tried to do everything my best in my house, you know, and I don't have no troubles, but that's why I didn't come. I forgot.
Okay.
But what that was, still I got these things, and I still can't hear right. I have to go to the hospital again.
Okay, I'm going to make a recommendation to waive the late fee for you. Nick, if you could, he's having a hard time hearing that.
Okay.
But just make sure that you keep in mind that you have to remember that next year, okay?
Oh,
I understand.
That's for sure. I always
We
do
appreciate
that.
you being on time all the other years.
And I appreciate it, okay?
Okay,
Whatever
thank
you
you.
do for me, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
I concur.
They'll give you the paperwork. At the same time. Thank you.
Okay, Nick, 6736 Missouri via Zoom.
Yeah, I believe the owner is out of Folsom, California. Mr. Falk.
Mr. Falk?
All right. Okay, so Mr. Falk is the owner of 6736 Missouri. He is a new owner of the property, taking over April 25th of 2022. So this is a single-family home. We only missed for 2022.
Good morning, Mr. Falk. That's okay. Could you just tell us what happened this year?
I understand the April 15th one, I just did the 30-day one. I took 30 days from occupancy, now 30 days from signing. And now I understand that it's 30 days from signing.
Gotcha. No problems before?
A new one.
Okay.
I have one other home on Ohio, but, yeah,
Okay, Mr. Falk, I'm going to make a recommendation to waive the late fee for 2022. And as with everybody else, we usually only grant this one time, so keep that in mind going forward, okay?
Well, I do have a question, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So I got to register by April 15th, but, so in this situation, the contract with the renter will be up on April 30th? So if it's a new renter, like on April 30th, then do I got to register within 30 days of that guy?
Yeah, typically if, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Register before April 1st or April 15th for the old person? I'm sorry.
No problem. Yeah, typically we just advise landlords that know the properties are going to be occupied by a tenant just to register with the current tenant at that time. And if for whatever reason a new tenant were to be found and occupy the home, they can submit a tenant update form at no cost. So at least this way they get a registration in on time prior to the deadline of April 15th. And then they can provide updated information throughout the year should the tenancy change or their situation change.
Okay, so tenant update form, that is
Correct.
extremely good. Okay, I will get that.
Was that it, Mr. Falk?
No, you guys are great. I appreciate what you've done there.
Okay, so my recommendation is then to waive the late fee for 2022.
I concur.
Thank you.
That should do it.
The meeting is open to the public. Would anybody like to speak? Okay, I recommend we adjourn the meeting.
Before we adjourn the meeting, Mr. Vice, I'd like to recommend for you to listen to the Sultan Swing song.
Okay,
With all that said,
got you.
I concur.
Everybody have a good day. Thank you.